Tuna Bites, what is up? We are here. Week 7 is upon us, and the men are starting to separate themselves from the boys in the land of tuna. And
Kinda.
kind of lots of trades are heating up, and we're here for all of it and some of Richard and I's reaction. So welcome today on the shortened version of Tuna Buzz, because Richard and I have a very busy schedule out there in the world of tuna. So
Yeah.
Richard, what's
I'm a
up?
world traveler. I'm a world traveler this week, so can't
Yeah.
had to go to Barcelona last week. I'm going to Paris this week, so
Man, had to go to Barcelona, Paris, man. I tell you, what a life,
yeah.
Uh,
I threw it in. Hey, just wanted to wish you a happy first win of the season, Reed. Congratulations.
Richard,
It came. Yeah, you're right. I didn't have a chance to curse you this week, so you were able to beat the worst team of the league.
barely. Oh gosh, I didn't. It's only fitting, Richard, that my first win this year is in a game that I didn't deserve to win, and that's just how my season has been. So it was just kind of funny.
When it was going into the what is it, Monday night, it still had he still had he still had a player, and it
Yeah.
was like 8 points away or something like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, if Reed loses, this is gonna be
Oh
awful.
and 6. Yeah, I thought I was going to be 0 and 6 after Monday night. I
Wow.
thought, I'm
Yeah.
going 0 and 6, and
Yeah.
so yeah, there you go. I got on the win column. I think Aaron's really happy because now he's in the driver's seat for the #1 pick next year. So I guess we both won. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I got to
uh,
experience his what he thought of the loss when on Tuesday. So
yeah,
might I
yeah.
say, very well for it worked out well for me too. So.
I will say, Richard, I'm gonna just we're talking about it. And I'm gonna put this out there. This will be, how I do those like little end of show, sometimes little monologue things. Well, I'm gonna do it
Yeah.
right now. So here's the thing, Richard. Aaron, okay, let's be real. If Aaron had not packed it in after being 0 and 4 and would have just stayed the course,
Hmm.
he would be 2 and 4, getting ready to play John Mack, who is like all his running backs are hurt, and he's like
Hmm.
really not in good shape. And he basically would be a game back this week
Yeah.
of his division.
Uh,
So
yeah.
I,
In
I
his division alone.
yeah,
I
in his
mean,
division alone.
you and I are like we're only looking at wild card. We can't.
Right. Right. Yeah. I know.
And the
Well,
same
and
with
that
Jonathan's. Same with Nathan's division. They're only looking at wild card.
yeah. Yeah.
So
I know. That's why listen, I mean, listen, I'll give Aaron credit. Aaron, he made a decisive decision. This is the path I'm going. He's really set himself up exceptionally well for next year. So I applaud him for that. But man, this is why I say, like, I get that, if you start 0 and 3, 0 and 4, it's gonna be tough sledding, hard to really, because you have to win a lot more games than you lose the rest of the way out. But the thing is, it's just things change so fast. I mean, even when I was 0 and 5 last week, like I'm still like, and of course I have slim hopes, but it's like, still, I mean, there's just so much that between all the injuries, you get into the bye weeks. I mean, it changes so fast in fantasy football with teams and their players and it's like Nathan, and we talked about this 2 weeks ago. Nathan had made that big trade with Aaron, and I had brought up the whole thing about like Nathan, his team's stacked. He's the best team in the league, but he shot his shot already with his draft picks, and so if he has some injuries and he needs to make a trade, it's going to have to come from whatever players he's got in his roster.
yeah.
And so that's because just because you did all that doesn't mean it's just going to stay that way the rest of the season. I mean, we know those injuries, things are going to happen. So all I'm saying is, I mean, Aaron, listen, he did it. I just think he too early. I think he should have waited, because if he waited a week and he got a win and he was 1 and 4,
Yeah.
he would have felt obviously just getting that win. It's kind of like me. I was like sitting there, 0 and 5, and I'm like, man, can I just get a win, and everything. So that's all I'm gonna say. You just I know it gets frustrating. You start on 3 on 4, you're like, man, I can't even have a victory. But it's such a long season. And here's the other thing, and we're not doing it this year, but if let's say, let's say this playoff format that we're trying out this year, let's say we don't like it, okay, and we want to
Mm-hmm.
just do our normal 2-week playoff format. Well, we could change next year and do a 15-week regular season versus a 14-game regular season, potentially. So if we did that, then of course it becomes even longer as far as the regular season. So, anyways, it's just funny to me, like, it just because, you get 3 or 4
Yeah.
games, it's not going to be indicative of the rest of the season. I mean, obviously we know who the best teams are. We got Nathan, we got Jonathan, PC, obviously his team, we'll talk about his game this last week with Richard, with Daryl, but
That was
yeah,
crazy.
I mean, you just never know. You never know. So I just think to all the Tunavites out there, I mean, at some point you realize at the season when it's over, whether it's mathematically or your just team doesn't have it, but sometimes you can try to get out too early. And then later you're like, man, maybe I shouldn't have, gone that path so quickly. So sorry, there's
Yeah.
my rant. My rant's over, Richard.
Okay, sounds good. All right. No, I agree with you. I think, yeah, I was surprised when you told me that he was ready to just pack in the season. So, but I agree with you. He probably would be 2 wins this year, since that point. But now we're at where we're at, so we'll just move forward, I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's go ahead and look at this week's or last week's wins and losses. I can just roll through real quick. We can look at my win against Donald. Um,
Wow.
Donald, Donald just is his team hurting or did he just not? I honestly I didn't pay a whole lot of attention, but it seemed like he kind of just forgot to log in this week or something. But at the same time, when you look at his
He did
bench, it's
he
not
did
as good
his
either.
yeah, I mean, he did his lineup. I would say Donald had one of the worst scores in our current modern version of our scoring system. I mean, that was just wow.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about
Well,
after the first 3 weeks, he was on fire, and then just man, it was brutal. And you just, I mean, kudos to you. I mean, you absolutely destroyed him, and I'm sure it felt nice for you to get a
yeah.
really great win. And
This is 2 weeks in a row, I think, where I've had really. I think it was last week. I had a. Let me look real quick. Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. I'm picking up my scores. I'm not hovering around 100, which is
right,
nice. I'm
yeah.
plus 130, so that's makes me
It
happy.
does, Richard. It does help to have King Henry on your team. That
It
does give
does.
you a little bit
It
of
does.
a little bit of a boost. That guy's amazing, and that I could go on about that. He's just different, and a lot of people were, I mean, he's had tons of usage, and oh, this and that, but man, he's one of those guys that he can take it, and he's awesome. So yeah, that's good. You needed that win big time, and
Yeah.
so that was a great week for you.
Yeah. I mean, the win definitely set up what we'll talk about later as far as the future of my team and my what I've decided to do moving forward. So
Yep.
this week was a big turning point for that.
Yep.
We'll go through the rest of the wins and losses. John Mack and Dwayne. Um, I mean, I feel bad for John Mack. He lost 2 running backs this week. It felt like because Gibson got hurt
Mhm.
and Hunt is now on IR with his
Yep.
injury. But he still managed to win despite that, just because Cooper Cup is Super Cooper Cup.
Yep. Yep.
And you got Adam Thielen, who's just been balling out. A lot of people were kind of counting Thielen out. I think the last 2 years they were thinking he was getting too old, but he's showing them like, hey, George Jefferson's great, but I could show you some fantasy points. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Dwayne's got, he's got his brother right there with him, and so Dwayne's got to get it turned around. I mean, it's good for John Mack that he got this kind of win because, man, he's
Yeah.
just been getting decimated by some injuries and situations like Tyler Lockett. Not having Russell Wilson. That again, that's going to affect him and DK, and so that's John Mack needed that win, big time.
Yeah, big
So,
time. Big
yeah,
time. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be rough sledding. It's gonna be rough for him moving forward with the amount of injuries. I mean, he's got one here that's on IR, but he's got another two on his bench that are also IR. So his bench
yeah,
is getting decimated. Barkley's not on IR, but he's hurt.
yep.
He's got. I mean, Lockett's quarterback is now Geno Smith, unless they sign somebody or trade for somebody. Like it's.
Yep.
Man, I feel bad for John Mack. He needs something to happen. So
Yep.
we'll see what happens. Dwayne just had an off week. He didn't have a bad week. It was just the Bills defense was surprised by Tennessee. That was
Yep.
a big issue. But other than that, it was just kind of an off week for him. I mean, Evans just didn't he wasn't the winner of the Tom Brady target lottery or roulette wheel, I think I called it. I told you.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
every week you got to play the roulette. Which one are you going to put your chips on? And it's tough. But right now it seems like Antonio Brown is the sure thing.
Yes, and I found that way the hard way when he's been on my bench. So,
Yeah.
that's
I
yeah.
think with Gronk out, I think he's got like I think he's kind of picked up that mind meld that Gronk has with Brady.
Yeah.
I think it just speaks to how good of a wide receiver he is too.
Yeah,
To
I
that
think I
fact,
think he just I think the AB of old is back, and the guy that just gets open, and so I think that's for Dwayne. I mean, just he just had a lot of inconsistent. I mean, he's got some really great players, but didn't have Chubb. Chubb was out, and just not enough this week. So, we'll see. Let's see what Dwayne will do here in the next couple of weeks at 3-3.
Yeah. All right, Jonathan and Josh. I mean, Jonathan is just looking stellar on his team.
Yep.
Despite he's really, I mean, he's going with Tim Patrick, who is not drafted. He's going with Daryl Henderson, which I think he drafted but was hurt at one point. He's got Cordero Patterson, who was on bye. He's got Hawkinson, who was and didn't he have no Hawkinson? Yeah, Hawkinson is turning out to be really good. I really like Jonathan's team, and all these two were wasn't even starting this week. It's great to see his team is just rolling. I'm jealous
Well,
a little
I
bit.
think I think the big thing for him is getting enough production, obviously from the tight ends, which is again is a big factor because it's like just the abyss at tight end. But I think also I mean, this is largely without CMC because he's hurt again this year, and
Yeah,
but I mean he had running backs, right? So he kept CMC, kept Zeke, drafted Henderson, who it's never been a question of talent with Henderson. It's a matter of just can he stay on the field.
right.
And I mean, you and I both know of having him last year. But having him and then getting the the wizard Cordero Patterson, who you can just go wide receiver, running back. I mean, talk about the
Yeah,
ultimate. Just I mean, that's amazing. You get the ability to do that. So he just is so strong there that even if his receivers aren't a strong group, he's been able to make up for that. And he's rolling along, no doubt.
yeah. I think this week we'll talk about this week's matchups coming up, but this week might be a little bit difficult with all the buys because I think Allen's out this week and so on. So we'll see what happens with Jonathan moving forward.
Yep.
Bruce and Nathan. This was I mean, the second highest scoring game of the week, I could say.
Yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
confidently.
Well, I mean, Nathan is the best team in the league right now, and he's just consistently putting up big time points. CeeDee Lamb just went absolutely off, and that really was a big difference for Nathan, especially because he had Eckler had a down game, but it didn't matter. I mean, he had his other guys, and defense. I mean, you kind of notice with these scores too. It's so hard. Football, NFL, it's so much now about the offense. It's tilted towards the offense. It's really hard to find defenses that just really get you a lot of points in fantasy because of that. But when you get, like you had 23 points from your defense, that's like it's kind of like the tight end thing. It's a huge bonus,
Yeah.
if you get
Yeah.
those extra
Huge.
points,
Huge.
So it's hard. It is hard, but if you can kind of figure it out, most people stream defenses. That's just kind of the way it is now. But if you can figure that out, that's definitely just another thing that's an advantage. So,
Yeah, I agree. On Bruce's side, Dawson Knox, I think, got injured this week. Gaskin, I mean, this is the Achilles heel right now for Bruce. He's been decimated by injuries with Edwards-Helaire going out, Chris Carson going out. Those are his starter running backs at the beginning of the season. Both of them were gone. He addressed that this week with you, which we get to talk about, which I'm excited to talk about your mindset through that. So he's trying to set himself up for the future, and having Mahomes and Hill is definitely a plus. I think he's set himself up to where he's not as dependent on the Chiefs as he once was, with that trade and with just a couple moves that he's done over the season. He'll have Ridley back this week, so he's got the future. I think he's going to be a contender for sure for his division. To move forward. So this was just an off week for him, and it really wasn't an off week. He was just beat by Nathan with more points.
Yep.
So.
Well, he currently, after this week, me and him were kind of trading off with toughest schedule. So now he's first and hardest schedule, and I'm second. So that's
Okay.
the fact that he's 3-3. That's good, because when you're the one that draws that, it can be really bad. So
yeah. I mean, being 3-3, you're tied for first for the wild card right now. So
yeah, yep,
that's not that bad position.
No.
All right, Daryl and PC. Wow! What craziness! What craziness this is! This was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to go toe to toe like this. I mean, and it came down. I wasn't really able to watch much of any of the games or anything Sunday, but just for it to come down to like basically that Cowboys game, the ending, and with Dak and Schultz, and I mean, just to come away, I mean, that's good for Daryl. You know what? Just Daryl, you know what? This is me. I'm giving you the clap. 3-3. People have underestimated you, and you've had tons of injuries as well to start. Your first round pick was gone just like that. You lost Jerry Jeudy. Juju. I mean, and here you are. So you know what, Daryl? Hey, you're right there. You're right there with Dwayne and John Mack and Bruce and PC, who are battling their division. I mean, yeah. I mean, PC, it's like, this is like kind of his norm for the last however many seasons. He's scoring a lot of points. So I'm not even really worried about PC. It was just one of those where, like, man, Daryl just came out, put together best game he's probably ever had. I don't know what his highest scoring game is, but, just super impressive.
Yeah, no, I agree. Very impressive putting together just a team that no one expected to do well. And, it's the NFL. Players can just go off, and it's awesome. Fournette, who could have thought Fournette was going to do what he did this season when last season it wasn't nearly as productive as this is.
Well, and then remember, he drafted Chuba Hubbard, and CMC got hurt again, so that's been to his benefit. So what? Kudos to Daryl.
Absolutely,
and,
absolutely.
So.
Hey, this week I need Captain Insano to lay off, because apparently Daryl gets pissed off and then scores crazy points. I need this week, since I'm playing Daryl, for him to leave him alone. Just leave Daryl alone, and we'll be all right. All right. And PC, he broke the trend. He wasn't supposed to score this many points this week. This was an off week for him. His up and down season, he broke the wave, this week. No, but good for him. It's being the third highest scorer of the week. It's unfortunate that he played the highest score of the week, I know fourth highest. Nathan was a little bit more, but still, it's unfortunate that way. But that's fantasy football. That's what happens.
Yep.
But this was close until until the Dallas game, and it was just crazy to see the scores going.
Yeah,
And
back
I
and
thought
forth.
PC was going to win, and then I'm like,
Well,
what the heck
yeah,
just happened?
that's the fun part in the season when you have a matchup like that where it's like coming down to some guys and they're in the same
Yeah,
game or whatever, and it's just like, that's fun. That's kind of
yeah,
just fun to see. Obviously, you hate if you lose, but just it's cool when that happens like that.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure with this early game, and he got 29 points from Jalen Waddle. I'm sure he was just already excited.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
hey, by the way, start your wide receivers against Jags. Hello.
Richard, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay.
Okay.
You just opened a can of worms. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Because I started AJ Brown a couple weeks ago against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it did not work out well at all. So I thought that, and then I started AJ Brown, and then
Well,
uh,
it helps that our Miles Jack was hurt and a couple
yeah,
other defenses
yeah,
hurt. But
yeah.
hey,
No,
the
I know.
Jags got our first win in a
Yep.
year. I'm excited. I'm happy. That's probably the only win we're gonna have this year. But hey, we got the win. We're not gonna go so I'm happy with that.
All right. Is that everybody from last week, or do we?
No, we got it. We got to go over the stinker of the
Oh
stinker
gosh, you're gonna go over that
score
game,
of the
Richard?
week. Hey, let's just briefly go over it. Najee finally was able to get his touches and his work. That was nice to see for your first overall draft pick. Mixon showed up, but despite his injury, there was question whether or not he was going to show up. So that was nice for you to be able to pull out this win. I mean, those two are basically what helped you win this week. Unfortunately, the rest of your team just was a little rough. And the fact that you won says everything about Aaron's team, about how rough it was for him, and the fact that the Rams were saved him from having the worst score of the week is great. Is helpful for him, but whew, he's definitely in the driver's seat for the first pick for next year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll talk about his, latest trade and everything. But I mean, all his decisions. I mean, just based on, yeah, he'll have a legal lineup, but it'll just be very bad. And I mean, what can I say? I have, Najee has been everything that I had hoped for, especially when you consider the fact that the Steelers do not have a good offensive line and they've got a washed up quarterback. And he's putting that production, and so that's been definitely a bright spot. And as you mentioned, Mixon, coming through, and my receivers just, man, that they just had, all of them had an off week, and then of course, out of my plethora of receivers, I started the wrong ones. The two on the bench, they were the better ones, and so that was almost, I cost myself a win last week by doing, starting the wrong receiver, and almost happened again this week. So yeah, it's good to get a win. Didn't deserve it. But it was kind of ironic that I got my first win in a game I should not have been winning. But hey, there you go. Got on the board, and it didn't feel as good as, like, a lot of wins would, but it was nice just to have a win,
Yeah.
So
you're not going to go 0-4 either. So congrats.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, so I brought up the Fab report. The only comment I really wanted to add to this, it was kind of a down week for Fab. There wasn't a whole lot that was on the
barren.
I mean, it was rough. The only thing I want to point out is Aaron is preparing for next year. He picked up Travis Etienne. He picked up Brandon Ayuk. Devontae Freeman, I guess he's just looking for somebody to start for this week because of what his actions this week have kind of put together. So, but it was interesting to see those two pop up and that he got them. So, hey, I was hoping Brandon would kind of go for 0 and I could pick him up later maybe, but then I made choices that prohibited me from doing any type of movement on the waiver.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. Yeah, no, it was barren, man. It was bad this week on the Fab. It is like I've heard the word Buy-mageddon because it's not just the teams that are on the buys; it's the number of like good players that are on buys this week, and then all the injuries. So it is man, gosh, it was rough just looking at the free agents this week. Like, whoa. So
Yeah.
um,
I've heard Buy-mageddon and Buy-apocalypse.
there you go, Buy-apocalypse. Yeah, it's bad. So well, Richard, let's talk some of the trades now.
All right, let's go to the transactions. Boom. Transactions. You want to go with yours or you want to go with mine?
Well, let's start with yours first.
Okay.
Yeah, let's start with yours. You know,
Let's see
I feel
here.
like if we pay too much attention to my stuff, it's usually bad news. So I'm thinking let's go to yours. Richard, this is what I would call your trade with Aaron. This is the word I would use to describe this trade. This was the classic buffet trade, and where you were just like you went to the buffet and you're like, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that, and Aaron was just like, draft picks, here you go, here's these players, and there you go, and it was it was honestly pretty funny. I just was like, what? Like at first, like, is this real? Like, this, all these players for draft picks, and but obviously you
Well,
get the highlighted player is obviously Amari Cooper, and the Rams would be good defense, especially this week. So
yeah.
so anyways, yeah, I mean, I understand from Aaron's end, he's trying to collect as much as he can. He's gonna keep who he's gonna keep and get the
Yeah.
draft picks. So what was your kind of thought process in this with Aaron?
Well, you're calling it a buffet, but it was more like I was a. It wasn't. If we're going to use the food analogy, I wasn't. I wasn't going to him saying I want this, 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 this. It was more of like, hey, you want some food? And I said, yeah. And then it turned out to be a gourmet meal, that 5-course meal, And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, how much is this going to cost me? And oh,
Richard,
okay.
I've never seen a trade like this before. I mean, it was a new thing. I just
So I'll tell you what, when he sent me exactly like this, there was really no negotiation. There was really no talking. Um,
yeah.
because what sold me was I've been struggling at defense, and he had the Rams in there. I really wanted a second wide receiver. I've been trying and trying and trying to get a second wide receiver, and he didn't ask for a round 2 or a round 1 draft pick. And with those four things, I was just like, all right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was
it's not like it wasn't like it was a high cost to you. I mean, and I understood from Aaron. So no, it it
that
makes sense for what Aaron's doing and what, you're doing. The only thing, I guess the question really, Richard, what's
the
all on
hesit
our mind right now.
well, real quick, the only hesitation, and I'll tell you what your question is what am I going to do now? Because that was the hesitation was, oh shoot, I've got to drop 5 players on my team, and what does this look like? And the answer is I don't know yet. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell everybody else that's watching that wants to that it's in our league. Is I'm looking to just 2 for 1 is what I'm trying to do. Type of trades is I'm not looking for Mike Davis um, for Dalvin Cook, or Mike Davis and some ancillary unuseful player for Dalvin Cook. I'm looking at Mike Davis and another player that gets me a little bit better than Mike Davis maybe, but helps your team as well. If you can see something that makes sense, contact me and we'll make something happen. Mike Gesicki, I mean, he's a good Miami tight end. I've got Andrews. I'm okay holding on to Gesicki for Andrews' bye, but basically that's all it's going to be for me right now. Christian Kirk, I have Hopkins, so I'm not thrilled to have 2 wide receivers from Arizona, but hey, that offense is maybe it doesn't matter.
Right.
So,
right.
Any and all players are available. I'll tell you, Derrick Henry, I have got him way overpriced. If you want him, you are going to have to pay a handsome price. It's not fair. It won't be fair. I'm not going to ask for a fair price. And if you show me a fair price, I'm going to be like, yeah, that's fair, but I'm not taking it. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But as far as everybody else, everybody's up for grabs. Reid, I've told you, I love having a tight end that is separated from the rest of the group. And Andrews would probably be, he's not quite the Derrick Henry level as value, but he's definitely, you're going to have to overpay to get him for me as well. But those two are probably my biggest holds, but everybody else is up for grabs. And if you want to play the game of maybe you'll get whoever I drop, if you don't want to trade for him, hey, you're welcome to play that game and see if you can outbid somebody. But right now, it looks like I'm going to be the funder for people's waiver wire this week. So I'm going to wait last minute too. I'm waiting until nobody can pick them up. Sunday morning is when I'll drop if I have to.
Richard. Sometimes Richard, I think it's just like, you're like, I'm going to have fun with this, and I'm just going to have like a zillion guys, and I'm just going to like, yeah. Hey, Richard, you know what? It's your team, and there you go. So I will say this. It would be, of course, I don't know anyone's going to do it, but it would be just funny if somebody offered you for Derrick Henry like some crazy deal that like you shouldn't pass up, and then like just to see what would Richard do if he has to like he gets an offer that's just out of this world. Would he actually do it? Would he actually go through and trade Henry? That would be that would be on our minds. What would Richard do? But of course, I don't think anyone's going to do that, and everyone knows that Derrick Henry is the best player right now in fantasy. So, I don't see anybody doing that. So, but hey, I don't blame you. It's just like when Donald had Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Jonathan paid a ton to get Christian McCaffrey on his team, and when you have a guy that's such an advantage like that, I mean, you should. I mean, if you're going to trade him, it should be a high price. And I get it. So, all right.
Thank you, Nathan, for trading him to me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. I guess that would be, a trade that Nathan probably wishes he didn't make, which we all have, by the way. And I've had plenty of those, but I'm sure when he's watching Derrick Henry thinking, man, this guy, amazing.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go over yours and Coach Bruce's trade. 6-player trade. At the surface, it looks like it's a trade for next year for you and for Coach to try to win his division the best he can, or to get that wild card spot. But what was your thought process after a win with Joe Mixon coming in clutch for you? After that win, trading him away for some draft picks. What do you want to say?
Well, so here's the thing. Bruce came to me about Mixon. He inquired about Mixon, and it was before Monday night's results. We talked about it. He obviously wanted to know if I was, would be willing, interested, and of course, I never say never, even if there's guys that I really don't want to trade. Hey, if there's a good deal to be made, I'll at least listen. And so no, he came to me about Mixon. It makes sense. He's been decimated running backs. That's really been hurting his team. And so this is, it does look a little bit strange because, hey, I got to win. And so why would, of course, especially with Najee on bye this week, it looks a little odd to kind of, trade Mixon unless you're saying, hey, you're going full, like Aaron mode and just, packing it in. This is not me, going full sale mode yet. That time may come in the coming weeks where I just go, okay, I'm either mathematically out of it, or it's not going to happen. So it's not that I'm very much trying to win right now. But it just I felt like it was a good deal. It helps Bruce out. He gets Mixon, which was definitely an upgrade for him. And I just liked it. The picks that were involved, Dylan, he's basically a lottery ticket. I mean, he's a guy who'll get some points because Green Bay's getting more involved. And if Aaron Jones got hurt, I mean, he would be an instant running back one on that offense. And so I just thought, hey, I'll have him on my roster. I may, depending on how things work out, I may actually have to start him this week. But it just was a trade I liked. And Bruce and I kind of came to where we were comfortable with both. for it. And so I just decided to take it. Sometimes, you kind of get there and you're like saying, okay, when do I trade on this guy? Or if I'm going to make a trade, and you say, well, I'll wait another week or 2 weeks. And man, between injuries and just things changed week to week. I mean, it's a week to week game. And so sometimes you wait, 1 week too long, and then, the whole thing is different and the trade just doesn't work out for one reason or another to happen. And so I just kind of felt like, hey, we came to a place where we both were in agreement, and I just felt like it was a deal that I felt good about making. I mean, for next year, I mean, my chances, let's be honest, my chances are pretty slim, for the playoffs. I mean, mathematically, I'm not out of it, but it's very slim at it. So, I'm still
Yeah.
trying to win, but it sets me up for next year. Now, if I win, it might cost me this week because I'm playing Nathan, and I do need Mixon this week.
Mhm.
But let's say, I beat Nathan, somehow I beat Nathan, and win next week, get on a winning streak. And I think maybe I have a shot to make, to kind of make some sort of unlikely run. Well, then I can always use the draft picks I got, and maybe I make a trade the other way if somehow things really change. So again, it wasn't like a, hey, I'm surrendering, it's full sale mode. It was just a trade that I liked. Bruce liked it, and I just felt like taking it. And we'll see how the next couple of weeks play out for the rest of my squad. And if I'm out of it, then I'll probably do some more trading for next year. I don't think I'm going to do as drastic as Aaron. Aaron went like selling almost his entire team. I'm not planning on doing that, but sometimes you just get a trade and you just decide to take it. So that's just kind of where I fell on that. So, but it
Yeah.
helps Bruce for sure, and he's in that dogfight with PC and just the division, wild card, all that. So
Yeah.
big help for Bruce.
Yeah. And these between these two trades, when you look at the round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, all the way to 9 and 10, 11, 12, whatever that is, that's after 3 keepers. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so for people that want to watch that don't know this league, for some, I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
why
true.
you're watching, first of all, but hey, welcome,
Yeah.
and I hope you're entertained. All right,
Yeah.
let's we're trying to get this short and sweet. We're trying to be quick. Let's go ahead and go to this week's matchups. I will tell you 2 of the matchups are going to be a little difficult to look at because of illegal lineups. Guilty as
Well,
charged on my end. But
Richard, we're gonna have to
yeah.
we're gonna have to do it rapid fire here because I'm about out of time here and
All right, let's do it.
this week. So let's just kind of do some rapid fire picks here.
Let's do
So
it.
all right.
Daryl, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Daryl, you and Daryl, man, does Daryl continue um, his just incredible run? I mean, he's got some big bye weeks here, and
Yeah.
so and you got to get a legal lineup. So,
Well, I got 4
you
more
know,
players than I should.
uh,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
working on it. I love that Derrick Henry has put me into the first in rushing alone. Derrick Henry alone has got me that. So
Well, you know what? If Daryl, it's hard to pick against what Daryl's done, but this is a tough week for bye week for him, and
yeah.
so I'm gonna pick you this week.
All right. Cool. All right. Well, let's go on. I'm gonna pick me too, even though I'm not supposed to tell who I'm supposed to, but it doesn't matter. PC and Josh, let's go ahead and we don't pick against PC, even though he's lost 3 this year. We still don't pick against PC, and it's no different with Josh. I think Josh is going through apocalypse as well with
Yeah,
Herbert gone and so on.
right.
So um, PC set up real nice to be able to have some players. JD McKissick, be interesting to see how that plays out for his second running
Yeah.
back this week, but. I think regardless, PC is going to win this week.
Yep.
All right. Dwayne and Bruce. This one, CBS is projecting close. What's
Very
your thoughts?
close. They both came off tough losses last week, but I like Bruce. I like Bruce this week.
Yeah, I like Bruce too. There's a couple. He has a couple zeros because of bye week. He needs to find a tight end filler. He needs
Right.
to fix his kicker.
Yep.
And when that happens, it's going to show him winning, but like handily.
Yep.
Yeah, I like Kansas City this week against Tennessee. They're you can score against them.
Oh yeah.
So
Yep.
uh-oh. Well, I'm having camera technical difficulties, but nobody can see it. So,
I was
but
like, it
anyway,
shows live.
all right, let's move on. We've got you versus your brother Nathan.
Here,
Nathan's looking.
I'll
Go
just
go
say
ahead.
this, Richard. I'm just going to say this about the game. And this is how crazy Nathan's team and ridiculous it is. He has like 3 of his best players are on a bye this week, and he's still projected to score 145. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not
Uh,
fair. He's doing
uh,
really good. He's doing
yep,
his team's great. I'm
yep,
interested to see how Darren Waller goes forward with their coach departing the team. Last week wasn't great for him, but so it'll be interesting to see what
yep,
happens moving forward.
yep.
All right. Yeah, I got Nathan on this one, by the way, Reid. So
Yeah,
no
I
offense,
well, I
but
don't blame you. I don't think he loses this week.
this one, Aaron sold out his team for next year. But
Uh,
John Mack is hurting this week. I mean, with his team,
yeah,
his running backs are Antonio Gibson, who's hurt and may or may not play. We'll see. Mark Ingram for Houston. Okay. Tyler Lockett lost his QB. T. Higgins. Hey, he's the second wide receiver on his team, which is good. But he's got Super Cooper Cup. He's got the Panthers defense is great.
yeah.
But I mean, he's suffering from apocalypse. He's suffering um,
Injuries.
from injuries.
Yep.
Aaron might unintentionally win this week. I'm not going to call that. I think John will probably squeak it
Uh,
out if he can
yeah.
manage. If he needs to bolster his roster just a little bit, or if he wants to take the risk, we'll see. Um, but
Yeah, I like John Mack this week. I
yeah.
just, yeah.
All right, Donald and Jonathan. Donald coming off that devastating
Oof.
performance last week. He's still 3-3. He's still tied to go to try to get that wild card spot for the playoffs. Jonathan is on a tear. He's got bye week issues with Matt Ryan being out, or I mean not Josh Allen being out and having to deal with Matt Ryan. Cordell Patterson's in instead of Ezekiel Elliott because of bye. BK Metcalf having the same issue as far as QB. So that's why the projection's really low. I don't know what's your
Yeah,
thoughts on this
well,
one?
yeah, I don't think Jonathan loses this week either. I think Nathan and Jonathan both keep the undefeated seasons going. And, for Jonathan having no Christian McCaffrey, having kind of a tough week of bye week, he's still, I mean, he's got the guys, and Donald
Still
still,
solid.
it's,
Still
yeah,
solid.
I think Jonathan wins this week and keeps the undefeated season going.
Yeah. And let's not pass up the fact that Donald has some bye week
Right,
issues as well with Keenan
right,
Allen and Mike Williams being out. So
right.
all right. Wow, that was quick. We did a quick job.
We did.
We did a good job.
We did.
I've got the traditional trade up available
Always, Richard.
for somebody. So
Always. Always. That's like you become your MO when we come on now. It's like, Rich's got a green. You're gonna have that when the trade deadline's over, you're gonna somehow have like something up there, even though you can't trade, you'll figure a way out. Like, it's just gonna be a green right there.
yeah, exactly.
Hey, next year when we can trade again, here it is. Here's the offer, Well, Richard, before we close, I just quickly wanted to follow up. On a couple of weeks ago, I talked about one of the options in our league to something that we would possibly be voting on. And it was really about maybe changing the way we do our keepers. And that was to, going from, doing our 3 keepers just straight up to now maybe doing it where you lose that round draft pick. That's a style a lot of leagues do. But I want to follow up because you brought up some good questions, and I talked with the Secret Society of Commissioners about this. We had an in-depth discussion and PowerPoint presentation and everything. So what probably would happen if we were going to make that kind of move is I don't think we would be able to do the whole trading of draft picks to do this scenario, at least the way our CBS, like what they give us and how they set up the whole thing, for our league and what we can do. Which we can do a lot of different things, but it doesn't necessarily mean we can do, customize everything sometimes like we want. So that being said, if we were going to make this kind of a move, it couldn't be for next year because there's already been draft picks traded. So it'd have to be for the following year. And honestly, I think, and now that I've kind of, understand a little bit more what we can do, I mean, I think everybody loves trading draft picks. It adds a whole different element to the league, and it took a while for everyone to kind of get a grasp of what it all meant, from year to year. Um, so at this point, we're probably not going to send out a vote for it. I mean, Jonathan was the one who kind of brought it up, but I think Jonathan, the feeling I got from him was just he would rather just have the draft picks than go to the other format. Um, that being said, if there is somebody in our league that's like, man, I really want to do this kind of, no draft pick trading and just do this kind of way of doing it, we certainly can vote for it. But at this point, we don't really see a need to do it, because obviously the one who brought it up, Jonathan, is not really thinking he wants to go that route. So that's kind of why we have these discussions, on some of these potential changes that we sometimes people just throw out there. I think it's just to help everybody think through, like, hey, if we made this change, what does it look like, for our league in the way that we've been doing our league? Because sometimes it could be really fun and great, and other times it might not be the best move. Like we'll find out with this playoff format this year. It may be great and we love it and go on, and we may not like it and we just go back to, the way that we've been doing it. So, anyways, that's just wanted to follow up with everyone just so kind of clear on that. And I'll be talking about maybe next week. I'll be talking about another possible change or something that has been brought up about some of our positional stuff, and just throw it out there to everyone, and just see,
No kickers? No kicker?
no kickers. Richard, it is gaining steam. I've seen a lot of people just say they do away with kickers. So, it might not be too far off. Let's just put it that way.
I wish you could see my face. I got excited.
I wasn't exactly going there, but that might not be too far off the way the NFL is actually going anyways, because a lot of teams are going for it, and you're not using the kickers as much, but that's a whole nother discussion. So we're out of time. So anyways, that's it this week. Tunivites, good luck this week. And I can't wait to see what other trades and all the action and things that unfold next week. And hopefully we'll have Nathan back with us next week. He wasn't able to be with us today. So, all right, Richard, we're out. Tunivites. See ya.
See ya.